Hello, beautiful souls. Today is Tuesday, September 17th, 2024, and today there is a full moon in Pisces with a supermoon lunar eclipse. And I am here, Amana Be Love, with your moon messages. I am feeling the power of this eclipse and this full moon as here in the northern hemisphere we move towards the autumn equinox. How are you all feeling out there? I have decided to pull from these two different decks today, the moon deck and also the herbal astrology deck here. So I'm super curious to see what messages come through today. I'm just taking a moment to deepen my connection with spirit and ask for the purest messages to be simply spoken through me to you, to those that feel called to listen here. What's first? Okay. So sweet. Okay, I chose the card here. Collaboration brings more sweetness into my life and into the world. Yes. So here it's showing the honeybee and how they work together, collaborate to create the sweet nectar of life. I love this. I love collaborations. I mean, that's what I feel like my podcast is. I just had Sarah Kavist on the show. That episode is publishing today, or right now, actually, because my podcast publishes at 11:11 a.m. on all major platforms and YouTube. I love collaborating with other women, putting them in the spotlight. There is just something so magical about coming together, and that we are greater than the sum of our parts when we come together. I was just speaking to someone about circling, how important it is for us, especially as women, to circle together and have those intentional times where it's women only, and feel into that and notice what that feels like in our bodies to be in the presence only of other females, and how that changes the dynamics and how we and others interact differently. And there's just this like ancient knowing of the magic of that, and the support that we can feel from one another, and the fabric of our beings inextricably linked through our wombs and our ancestors, that we are all here because of the mothers that lived before us. I know that sometimes I've felt this too, that maybe at times I was worried about collaborating with someone, thinking maybe I'm not good enough when I reach out to see if someone would be open to a collaboration. You know, people that have a bigger following than me, or who I perceive as having done more, be bigger, and I have held myself back, and still sometimes do, from reaching out to them to see if we can collaborate in some way. And yet I have also received those beautiful times when I have reached out anyway, even though I was scared, and I have received a beautiful response. Like Anna, I wish I could say it perfectly. I'm going to practice it. The spiritual midwitch. I was nervous to invite her on my podcast, and yet she said yes, and I am going to be on her podcast later on. The interview scheduled for sometime in October. So just, if we don't even try, then you already kind of failed and you don't know, like, then you'll still not know. But if you try, you know, maybe people will say yes. So if you've been thinking about asking someone to collaborate with you, you know, the worst they're going to say is no. And if you never ask them, that's kind of the answer you're giving yourself anyway. So perhaps reach out and collaborate with someone that you haven't thought about. Okay, now I'm going to move to a card from this deck, the Herbal Astrology deck. Okay, this one. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. I imagine many of you are also this, as I am this. The Wounded Healer. This is Dandelion. The Wounded Healer. This sweet image of these flowers, this horse person. It looks like a man / horse with this bow and arrow. This flower of life here. It's amazing. This plant that so many of us see as a weed is, per this deck, a wounded healer. And that makes me feel about, you know, it's where we have once been wounded and healed ourselves, or been healed in collaboration, that it's like those most tender parts are also the places where we have the opportunity to, if we feel called, if we have the capacity, to then offer other people healing in those similar experiences. Like for me, this is making me think about when I had my baby Hartley and I found out that she had bilateral renal agenesis, so she didn't have kidneys, and which meant she wasn't going to survive after I birthed her into the world. And for me, it was incredibly helpful and impactful to speak to other women and hear their stories who had walked a similar path ahead of me, birthing babies that would not be able to live outside of their mother. And so let this be a reminder that we all have unique wounds. We all have unique aspects of ourselves that have been healed or are in the process of healing. And that sometimes it can just be so important to perhaps offer that story or our own personal experience. I am a huge proponent of learning through storytelling and being an experiential teacher and teaching from our own experience. Not speaking about what other people say happened to them and what they've had, but I feel like the most impactful teachings and healing has come from people who have actually walked a quite similar path and have healed that similar wound. So if you come across another woman who's experiencing something similar and relatable, of course you don't want to, I encourage you to offer, like, would you like to hear my experience that is sort of similar? And that woman can choose. Maybe she's not in the space to hear that story. Maybe she needs to really be in her own in that moment. But just remember the power of storytelling and being the wounded healer. This card also reminds me of Clarissa Pinkola Estes. She also speaks of the, she describes it not quite as the wounded healer, but something of like the broken heart, something about our hearts, and those of us that have experienced that heartbreak and how that also connects us to one another. So yeah, I hope that you feel something from this. And let's see, I have time for one more card. Which deck? Okay, it's the Moon deck. I held them both in my hands, and waited for the answer and it came. Okay. Last card here. Oh, yes. Okay. I focus on what is working. This makes me feel and think about like those times where I am reaching towards something that isn't in alignment, yet there's this part of me that thinks I should be acting like or doing like this other person, even though I have been trying it and it's actually not really working for me. So I feel like this is such a beautiful reminder to take a step back, release what isn't working. Like, we don't want to keep repeating the same pattern of trying the same thing over again if it's not working, and lean into and towards that which is already working and that which is feeling easeful and abundant and helpful. Focus on what is working. I focus on what is working. In life there's always going to be things that are working well and things that are not working well. And we have the opportunity and the option to either focus on the negatives all the time. Sometimes my husband can get in some of these patterns. Of course, I can too. But just over the weekend, there was this time, that's the fridge noise there. Sorry about that. Where I could feel that he was just sort of in this spiral where he's kind of like bitching about random little things, right? And it's so easy in this world to find random little things that we can bitch about, but does that enrich our life? Does that make our life better? Or does it actually feel better to focus on what's working or what we're enjoying or what we're looking forward to? So I hope that you find something fun and joyful that is working, that you are enjoying, and turn towards that. Turn towards what is working. Do more of what is working. Do less of what is not working for you. And just because some other person, it's working a certain way for them when they do this, that, and the other, I feel like in this virtual realm, so many people are always trying to sell what is working for them, but that doesn't mean that if you take those same steps, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So lean into what actually is working for you. Let's collaborate. If you want to be on my podcast, send me an email. Let's talk about how we might collaborate. Remember that our wounded places are also one of the places of our magic. And yeah, we talk about this in the episode that with Sarah Kavis that just published today, that these tender parts of ourselves are actually one of the most important things that we can share, and how much they can impact other people, as I have also been deeply impacted by people that were brave enough to share their wounded places with me when I needed them. And focus on what is working for you. Turn towards what is working. Turn away. Try something different if what you're doing is not working. And lean further into what is working for you. Happiest of full moons, magical lunar eclipse blessings to you all, and I will see you on the other side with the waning quarter moon in about a week. Mwah. So much love, love, love. Mwah, mwah, mwah.